11 a.m., so we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Allison Coltrane. I'm the Senior Grants and Management Analyst here with Guilford County, working in the budget office. Before we get started, I'll just go over a few housekeeping rules. All of you do have access to unmute yourselves, but I ask if you can keep yourself on mute. If you have a question, please raise your hand or type it in the chat. We do have people monitoring the chat, and we can get those questions answered. And we'll probably take the most of those at the end. But if you have a question pressing to one of the slides, we'll definitely stop and answer those questions accordingly. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with our presentation, starting with our agenda for today. So today we'll go over an overview of the CBO process, what's new for FY2025, the timeline that we have in place for this upcoming funding process, and then we'll close out with any questions you may have. Going right into the introduction, for those of you who have been through the county process for CBO funding or EDO funding, I know you're pretty aware, but for the people who are joining it for the first time or have never heard of our Guilford County CBO process, our community-based funding process is done through Guilford County. We allocate a percentage of our general funds, estimated general funds, to this funding award. Right now, we anticipate up to $2.4 million to be awarded this year. It could be a little bit more depending on the board, but we'll know more once they make their final decision. Going in for our goals for this year, we had some county priorities and CBO priorities that we wanted to extend to the organizations that would be a part of the application process. As far as the county goals, we wanted to increase communication with CBOs, hence we have information sessions going today and again on Monday, February 12th at 11 a.m. We wanted to create a CBO timeline. It was sometimes hard to know when you can expect contracts, when the award will be announced. So we have a timeline set up where we'll also post on the website, so you'll know exactly where you're falling in line as far as the process for CBOs. And lastly, we wanted to increase the amount of awardees. Last year was a big monumental award year for us. We were able to award 63 organizations. The year prior, we awarded about 24 to 23, well, 23 to 24 organizations. So that was a big jump for us. So we want to increase that number and increase the great work that you all are doing in the community by assisting with some funding there. And as far as CBO priorities that we wanted to extend to organizations, we wanted to help improve the application process, streamline the contracting process, make it a little bit faster, so that when you hear the announcement for the Board of Commissioners on who was awarded, there would be a short turnaround process for getting those contracts out to you. And lastly, a goal of ours is to have all payments released to organizations by the second quarter of the funding cycle. As we move in, there are some things that you will need for the application packet. First will be proof of nonprofit status. You'll need to prove that you're a nonprofit within Guilford County and have a main office within county limits. Next will be county vendor registration forms. So we ask that vendors set up a registration with the county, even if you may not get the award. This allows us to direct deposit funds once awarded and contracts are fully executed. Next is our W-9 form. That allows us to know your tax ID number and get your legal name and all that great stuff there. Contract attachments or supporting attachments. Some organizations have like their own conflict of interest form, or anything that particular to your organization that you would like us to attach along with our county contract. Next is our current annual audit, This only applies for people or organizations that are applying for $100,000 or more. That'll be a request for us. And last, but certainly not least, this is a main part for us, is our certificate of liability insurance. And we ask that the certificate holder be made out to the County of Guilford at the attention of the Risk Management Department, with the address of 301 West Market Street, Suite 304 for Greensboro. And we'll dive into the application itself. We're just giving some high-level overview of how we'll do what's required and what we're looking for. For the application itself, when you're filling it out, we want the correct organization name. We verify the name that's listed with what's listed in the NC Secretary of State database. So we would like to refrain from using like your DBA. Just use the one that's either on your W-9 or the one that is listed with the NC Secretary of State database. That'll just help create a little less confusion for our internal staff when we're getting contracts routed through the process. And again, the application itself will ask for your tax ID number. We know we'll collect that on your W-9, but if you'll also have to input it on your application itself. Next is sustainability of the program. We like to support organizations that have a great plan for the future and how they will sustain their programs that they're putting in place, as well as new ones that they plan to offer. So we'll ask for a little blurb about how you will plan to sustain your program or your organization after we are no longer funding, or other funding sources that you may have for these programs, in case the funding next year for you may be a little bit lower than expected, or if we're unable to award as many opportunities next year. Use of funding, we ask that general use of funding for county awards go to operating costs, program expenses, capacity building, and also like any capital expenses you may have. We ask that organizations refrain from using county funds for permanent personnel, just to ensure that those people that are core to your service are not impacted by our fluctuating awards, because some years, like I said earlier, we may not be able to award as many organizations or at the same amount as last year. Lastly, what's new for this year is that the application will have a contract delivery method, and you can select how you would like to receive your contract once awarded. So the options are, you can have it in person, you can meet with me and I can deliver the contract to you at our tourist building at 201 West Market, or it can be sent to you via email electronically. And the last one is we can mail it out to you through the Postal Service. So next, I'll share my screen of our actual application and go through that. I do see one question in the chat. Does the county want additional endorsement page with the certificate of liability insurance? You're more than welcome to add that. It's not required. We just need the first page of that certificate of liability insurance made out to the county for the certificate holder. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a minute and pull up the application itself and walk through that just a little bit. One second. All right, and if everyone can see the application, just let me know, give you a thumbs up or anything like that. All right, perfect. I'm glad there's a lot of cameras on the screen. It's nice to see everyone. So right here, we have our outside nonprofit application that both our community-based organizations and our economic development organizations can apply for. It's fairly simple. There's 15 questions. And the first one second. So with the first top of the questions are very general questions. Basically, you'll need one second. Sorry about that. So on the first top of the application is very general, just your organization's name, contact information, point of contact, tax ID number, as I was saying earlier, and your physical mailing address. Next is we'll have you select your contract delivery method. Please just select one option. We'll do that for you. And the next question, question number 2, is your expiration date for your certificate of liability insurance. That allows us to keep. Sorry. That allows us to keep track of contracts that may be expiring soon. Next is our project description. So this is where you'll put your public purpose statement. It's just one sentence that will describe how you propose to use the county funds and kind of give us a little bit of a glimpse of what your program will be doing. Next is 3A. We'll ask that you list your key staff. This comes in handy for when we want to provide extra communication. If there's someone else besides like your grant writer that submitted the application that you want on communications, as far as like updates when the board announces awards or general updates for quarterly reporting, these people should be listed here. And for 3C, we have the requested amount of county funds. So just put your amount there. And I will say that some of these fields, like that have funding attached to them, you will not be able to type in any like letters. It would only be numbers. So for like example 3C, you can only type in numbers because you're putting your requested amount. Moving down, we have question number 4, which is how does your organization align with Guilford County's vision statements? Once you have this application, you'll be able to click on the words vision statement to see what our vision statements are, and you can see how you align with those and put a statement here. Question number 5 is, if awarded funding, what are your targeted outcomes and how will you measure success? So we basically are looking here, who are you targeting with your programs? How do you measure success? Is it by the number of people who attend your sessions or something like that? Or the amount of events you had for the quarter? Just some general information about that. Question number 6 is, how is your organization demonstrated success in prior years? Include any current programs, activities, and accomplishments. So this is where you get to do the great things that you do. Talk about the great work you're doing in the community and great accomplishments you've had over the years. We like to hear those success stories, so we know we're supporting organizations that are already doing great work and just need that extra help to get more things done on their list. Next is question 7. Are you currently contracted with Guilford County? If yes, just provide the department and the contract purpose. Some organizations right now are already working with Guilford County to do numerous things, but we want to make sure that we're funding more opportunities. So if you're contracted with the county already, that does not exclude you from getting CBO funding. We just want to make sure that we're not overlapping extra work that you're already doing with the county. So if there's something else that you feel like you could do within the county or expand on the work that you're already doing, this is where you would put that. And question number 8 is kind of like number 6. Who is your target population for proposed services and the estimated number of residents you'll serve? So again, it goes back to your target population, if it's youth, elderly, something like that, and the estimated number of people within our county that you tend to reach with this funding and program efforts. Next is our basically your activity timeline. So you are able to add more lines if this is not enough, but here we're looking for your proposed measures of success. So like if you plan to host like 10 events in the funding year, you'll put that in like the project date where you like have a planning date to do that, and when you expect to have some of these events happen, or any major events that go on. Like if you're holding a farmer's market or something like that, put that date in that activity, and then we'll have that there. Next, question number 10 is, how will you allocate your awarded funding? So we want to know like your income sources. So like besides the CBO funded award, like, do you have any other partners that you're partnering with that will be funding your program, how much that is, and like your commonly used expenses as far as like operation costs, program expenses, again, capital costs, or any capacity building, things like that, that you will put in the expense side there. And if I'm moving too fast, please let me know. We can go over anything again. So next is providing any additional information to explain the table above. And the last question is, how will this program be sustained in future years? So again, we're looking for that big sustainability component, learning how you are already planning for the future. We know nonprofits have a lot of grants that they're managing. So we just want to make sure that the great work you're doing, you can continue to do. So that's where you were right there. And I will note that all of these fields have a character cap of 800. So we can get to a generalization of what you're trying to do, and just make it so it's a little bit easier on all the reviewers once we get all the applications in. And I'll stop sharing for a moment just to see if there's any questions out there. 1 second. I see a question right now from Marie Hopper. Is there a specific project budget or the full organization budget? So right now we would want the full organization budget, just so we can see the other program, other sources of funding that you have. But if you want to, you can limit it to just the project that you want to fund if you have multiple sources there. So we can leave that open, because it might be hard to project your full budget at this time if you're just starting out. We know we're starting in January, so that might be a little bit harder to do. So if it's easier to just put your program or project budget in there and your sources of income and your sources of, and your expenses there, you can do so. Any other questions? Okay, I see one hand raised.
Yes, so I have two questions. One is, when are the applications open? And two, what if the organization is fairly new? Do you still fund them?
Yes, so I'll get to the application timeline in just a little bit. You're hitting all the right points. But as far as you being a new organization, we fund new organizations all the time. We funded a lot of new organizations this year. So that's not a hindrance. We do know that because you're new, you may not have a lot of things to put as far as the success thing. But if you have a good story and a good program that you're putting forth effort in, we'll like to award those as well. I see another question from Susan. Maybe not. Any other questions? You can unmute yourself if so. All right. All right. So I've exited out of our application. So the next thing we'll go over is the actual reporting that you'll have to do, starting with our performance report. And that's fairly simple, as 1 page. I see a few hands up. If that's just an error, let me know. But if you have any questions, I can open it up now to you all. Just need to unmute yourself if so. Carrie, I see you talking, but we can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
I was trying to find the button. I love the list of organizations that were funded last year. Is it possible to see what those grants were for, so we have a general idea of what you cover? I mean, I know you said operational and capital. We just want to make sure that we're not asking for something that isn't going to be covered.
Yeah, sure. I can provide like a general overview of the types of awards we gave out this year, and we can put those on the website.
Thank you.
No problem. I think that's all the questions, so I'll move into our reporting. Give me Right now, you should be able to see our quarterly performance reports. These are fairly simple. They're about 4 pages, but that's just to allow you space to report on. At the top is basic information, what quarter you're reporting on, month and year you submitted, agency name, and all that general information, and your award amount. Right here is where we'll start to look at some general expenses, like what you spent on operating costs, and we give a few examples, capital, programming, and others. You can go into more detail at each section. Next is what populations within Guilford benefit from the programs that you are funded to work with. So we have like children and teenagers, adults, women's, mothers, people with disabilities, job seekers, and things like that. And that kind of goes to Carrie's question, some of the things that we do fund and look forward to funding. And then we ask for you to provide information on the number of people you served so far with this grant funding. And next we'll ask for like another part of your performance measures is like some of your goals and activities done to support your goals, anticipated targets, and actual results to date. We do leave in this example just to give you a starting point. So like if your goal was to enroll 15 new participants for an after school program, the activities you've done to do that were like outreach information sessions with different community partners, and then you aim to get like 20 different students, and your results to date were like you held some of these meetings and you were able to get like 15 or 14 new participants. So things like that. And there's a lot of space that you have to put in all the program and the great work that you're doing there. And then there's a few questions that just ask, like, have you matched or leveraged county funds to get others to contribute or have other revenue come in? And are you pursuing any alternate sources of revenue to support that program? And if so, we just ask that you list those sources. Next is like listing tangible ways that your agency has impacted county residents as a result of receiving funding. Next is to detail any efforts made to maximize efficiency or effectiveness with your program. And the next question would be any efforts you did to build capacity for your organization, anything that helps fulfill the mission that you had to collaborate with other organizations, or increasing or diversifying services offered, or any additional training that you offer to your staff. The next is a little bit of is a table that wants you to identify your program strengths, some areas of weakness or areas of improvement, any challenges that you have encountered this year in particular, and lessons learned, and future plans on how you may improve this program based on your experiences this year and previous years. We like to look forward to see that you're like planning ahead for those things. And the last question is just any general other updates, like if you got an award during the time that we've given you money, or you've done something really successful that you may have not planned for, but it kind of just came together at the perfect moment. We would like to know those things and like to share those out with our board as well. And I see one hand raised. You can unmute yourself.
Good morning. I'm sorry. I had a question, one about the certificate of liability. Will there be a time when you can kind of go back to that and explain that more? And my second question is, we don't have a brick and mortar per se business location or office location. We're a small nonprofit, so my residence is is our location. Does that affect eligibility?
No, that wouldn't affect eligibility. In the cases, you would just need to put that physical address on the application if you're comfortable with that. I know it's your residence, but we just need that in case we have to mail out payment in certain instances. And as far as their certificate of liability insurance, was there a particular question you had relating to that?
Yes. When you say that the Guilford County government needs to be listed on there,
Mhm.
I guess I'm trying to, because I don't know a lot about insurance, just trying to understand the why that is required, I guess is what I'm saying.
So we have that required just as a risk assessment. Our risk department requires us to have that for any contract. It just makes sure that you are insured for anything, like if we deem like some of your expenses not to meet the standards that it needs to, and we may have to like request that. That's never happened before, but it's just like a safety net for us as the county to make sure that you're insured and stuff like that in case something happens as far as like any of your programming.
Okay, thank you. I guess I was thinking more about Guilford County being the beneficiary. I think that's where my mind was going. So thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that misinterpretation. So yes, so we do request that on your certificate of liability insurance that you send over to us, that we be a certificate holder, just so that solidifies that you're doing work with the county to receive these funds. So it's not so much that we're like the beneficiary for the actual certificate of liability insurance. It just shows that you're partnering with us and we're giving you funding to do certain programs that you outline for the community. So your whoever your insurer is, they can make multiple copies and have different certificate holders on there. Like if you're getting grants from like maybe the city of Winston-Salem as well as Guilford County, each time the certificate holder should change. So like when you turn in your certificate of liability insurance to the city of Winston, at that time the certificate of liability insurance that you send to them should say the city of Winston and their address. And then when you send the one in to us, it should say County of Guilford. So you will know that that it's going towards us, if that makes sense.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
No problem. And I see another raised hand, Sadie.
Yes, hi, Allison. You may have went over this and I just kind of missed it and trying to keep up. But of course, we keep up with our dollars and cents and all that stuff, and even in our quarterly reports. But can you explain to me, so how do we track, or what are you guys' thoughts on the value amount of in-kind donations? How does that come into play? Because of course we're gonna track actual dollars, right? But in-kind donations oftentimes are just as valuable, or if not. So what do we do with that? I want to make sure I understand where to put that.
For in-kind donations, we would count that as another source of revenue for you. Is that what you're like? If you're receiving donations for like the program that we're funding, or just general? Yeah. So we would we review that as another additional revenue source for you. So you would just put that in the revenue column as you get them quarterly.
Okay, so if someone comes and they volunteer, let's say we have a finance specialist, an accountant that comes and is teaching. We put that, and they're volunteering their services to us pro bono.
Okay.
You understand what I'm asking now?
Yeah.
How do you all see, how do we count that? How do you guys want us to count that or measure that or value that?
So that's a good one. For that one, we don't really have anything set up to like put like an amount to that, unless you do. Like if you know how much that was like a revenues boost to you, like how much you would normally charge an accountant. You can say because of that volunteer service, you had an additional boost to your revenue, like maybe $100 or $1,000 for that year. So you can count it that way. But since it's not like an expense or like an in-kind monetary donation, you can do the calculations if you want it on an hourly basis and put that as a source of revenue. Okay. And then you can detail that in the sections, because I'm about to actually show you the expense report, so you can detail it there, and we can understand why you're saying that that's an additional source of revenue.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Well, if that's all the questions that I see right now, I will go ahead and share our expense report. All right. So right here that you see is our expense report. Fairly similar, fairly simple. You'll have like personnel, supplies, services, other, and right here you'll just put total award received, total spent thus far for the quarter, and then you'll put in your organization information. And that is the same for all 4 quarters. It'll be the same. Just note that there's a drop down. So I have it set to automatically align with each quarter, but sometimes it can get a little wonky and get out of place. So just remember to put the right drop down when you're filling that out. But this one's fairly simple. Year-to-date disbursements. So this will only be applicable to organizations that are awarded $100,000 or more. They'll have multiple payment installments. Everyone awarded $100,000 or less will have a full upfront payment of their award amount. So this will probably not change for some people from quarter to quarter, but this line item should, and then like your total program budget that you have can fluctuate depending on like if you add have a surge of more people coming in or different factors there. And as I said, that is the same across 4 quarters. This one's fairly simple. If there is others like Sadie mentioned, as far as like any other additional information, you can just put that into this extra field down here with any additional information you want to put in. Any questions as far as the expense report? All right, I'm going to take silence as a good thing and that you're happy with everything that's going on. All right, so what I'm going to do now is go over a few more things. I know you're just like, I'm seeing all this stuff and like it's a lot. So feel free to, I'll have my contact information up at the end. So feel free to talk, give me a call, email me if you have any additional questions. And the last thing that I will go over is our contract template, just to give you an idea of what that would look like. It's about 8 pages. It has a lot of things that you may have questions on, and I will not give you any legal advice, so I will refer back to our attorneys with any questions and follow up with those questions. And I do see one hand raised. I think it was Destiny. You can go ahead if you're off mute. If you're talking, we can't hear you. And if you're having troubles with your mic, feel free to type your question and we'll get it answered. All right. So again, here is our standard CBO template that we have. The highlighted portions is where we tailor the contract itself to fit the awarded organization. So you'll see that. So right here is basically like your start date. Every start date for CBOs would be July 1st. And it'll run through June 30th of 2025. There are some statutes in here. We base these statutes right here off of your public purpose statement. So that's why is we ask for that to be as detailed as possible, because there is a general statute that lines up with your public purpose statement that our legal team has to find and match. So that does take a little bit of time. We put in your award amount here, and we put your award amount here and make sure that you understand that your fiscal year ending is June 30th. Again, that needs to be updated to 2025, so ignore that. But the next section is really the one section that is really a tone to you all, and it's the agency duties and responsibilities. So again, that's where we have their public purpose statement inserted in, and that's what we hold you to throughout the remainder of the year as far as reporting and your efforts that you're doing in the community. So be as specific as possible and detailed as possible in that public purpose statement, so we capture exactly what you're trying to do in the community. This section also does go into show that you'll have multiple attachments with this contract. So the first one itself would be your application. So once we have that application in, you will see that as part of your first attachment A in your contract. The next section, section B, is your reporting periods. So every quarterly report, your performance and your expense report will be due 30 days after your quarter ends. So the first one will be October 30th, following one January 30th, April 30th, and July 30th for your last one. We will review those and we will we'll review all those documents, make sure they match with what your public purpose statement is, and we'll approve any expenses when you send your invoices for that. If we have any questions or anything like that, I'll follow up with you to just get a better understanding of what this was used for. Again, so section C is like your assignment. There will be no assignment in the agreement. You'll do exactly what you propose to do. There's assumption and compliance with like civil rights and disability and non-discrimination. I won't go into those heavy, but if you have any questions about any of these sections, feel free to drop your question in the chat and we'll get our attorneys to respond back to you. Books and record, just we're asking you to maintain financial records for a minimum of 3 years after having our receiving grant funding. We do have a right of inspection, just like to monitor performance or anything like that. That could look like a site visit. We're not doing this currently right now, but we do have that right to do so. Meetings, any meetings that we may need to have, they're public meetings, just like this one. And we do request like a drug-free workplace policy. Section J is where we request that a liability insurance to be had. Annual audit, and again, that annual audit section is only for those who are applying for more than $100,000. And then there's a recapture section. That's a little bit out of my territory there. But the next one is like no overdue taxes or debts. That will be your second attachment. And the third attachment would be your conflict of interest statement that we will need you to sign. Both the no overdue tax debts and the conflict of interest statement, there will be a notary required for those. Then there's like certain criteria as far as monitoring and establishing goals and objectives. We talked about those. They'll be listed in your application, and those are the things that we'll hold you by. And then this is basically the authority to enter agreement, making sure that you are agreeing to enter agreement with the county to receive grant funding. And this is the payment section. And this is really geared towards how your payment will be done. You'll have an upfront payment if it's under $100,000 or less. You'll have 4 installment payments if it's $100,000 or more. So if you're awarded $101,000, unfortunately, you'll get that $100,000 up front. That $1,000 will split out. In those cases where it's like a small amount, we will use discretion on how we do that. But these are the other things. You have your term in here. And then there's like a breach of contract, and you'll also have access to all of this once the application window opens. So don't feel like you have to know everything that's in this contract right now. Once the application window opens, you'll see this and you'll be able to go through it and make sure that you are aligned with what we're asking. And if you have any questions, we'll definitely answer those for you. And the final section that I want to kind of go to is where the county will sign, and your board of director or whoever you deem will be the person signing right here. In this little section here, the corporate seal section has tripped up a few people sometimes. If you don't have a corporate seal, just check no. If you do have a corporate seal, we'll just ask you to affix that on this page, and that's what we'll be looking for. But some people sometimes think that might be a notary seal, but no, that's just if your organization has their own personal seal. And those are all the documents that I will make you look through on this Friday morning. I'll go back to our presentation and finish up there. All right, so a lot of you probably want to know, like, what is the timeline to get some of this done or to get things in? And that is a great question. So hold on one second. So the timeline is here. So basically right now, application window will open January 29th. It will close March 1st at 5 p.m. All applications and their supporting documents will be emailed to grants@guilfordcountync.gov, and I'll have that information on the very last slide for you all. February 12th, we'll host our second information session. We wanted to host that information session while the application period was open. So in case while you're going through that application, if any questions arise that you may not think of right now, or any questions about the contract, we can answer those at that time. In March through June, once the applications are in, we'll do the review process, make our recommendations to the board, and then sometime in mid-June, we'll get that final recommendation and list of awards from our Board of Commissioners. And in September, we hope to have all contracts routed out to vendors. And I'll stop there because that was a lot of dates, a lot of information, and I'll just leave this slide up for you in case you want to just take like a picture, mental note, but it will be available on the website as well. Any questions right now?
Yes, I have a quick question. At least what's the duration for the grants? Are they yearly grants or it's a grant for like 2 years, 3 years? Like what's the duration for the grant?
Yes, these are our annual grants, so every year.
Okay, thank you. And basically you said would you share the slides?
Yes, they'll be posted on the website.
Okay. And you said you add your email address to it so that if we have questions, we can contact you, correct?
Yes, it'll be on the very last slide for you all. And I'll have that for you. But the next slide is, of course, questions. So feel free to have any more questions for me. You can go ahead right now. And that is my I can be reached via email, and that is my phone number that you can call me anytime. So I'll leave this open right now for you all to dive into any questions. I'm assuming no questions is a good thing. That means you're excited about the process and the funding opportunity opening it up. Of course, I know with having an information session, you're overloaded with a lot of things. So if a couple of days later, you're like, I really need an answer to one of these questions, feel free to email me or call. I see Bernadette has another question. Go right ahead.
Yes, my question is on the request, the amount that the nonprofit request. If we request, say if my request was for $10,000, is that a yes or a no, or is that a no, not 10,000, but we can award 5,000? That's my question.
Yeah, so that's a good question, and it's kind of twofold. So we'll make a recommended list, so you can either be a part of that recommended list for the full amount or for a reduced amount based off of how you compare to other applications. And it is subject to board, so they can bump you back up to your initial request or stay where the staff recommended. So there's kind of a twofold there. Any other questions?
Thank you.
No problem.
This is Tamika. I don't know how you, can I speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. My question is, I hadn't received my funding, but once receiving the funds, just say if I receive them in February, when will my quarter start? Like, soon as I get the money, I go into it like that, or what?
Yeah, so for those who receive it a little later than anticipated, you can use those to kind of refund yourself for expenses already incurred since July 1, because that's when your period of performance per se started. So if you've already spent some of that funding, you can say that that is going back to like Q1 expenses where you did some like program event. Or if you don't want to spend until you actually receive funds, you can start with February, and that would be Q3 where you're reporting on that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Hello?
See, Deanna?
Yes, this is Deanna. When you said 800 characters for answers to the questions, does that include spaces or just we can do 800 characters and not worry about spaces?
It does not include spaces.
Yay. Thank you so much.
No problem. Any other questions?
So I'm guessing to be able to get there, because you had mentioned that the goals must fit the goals for Guilford County. So I'm guessing we'll find the goals for Guilford County on your website, correct?
Yeah, so in the application itself, it'll be, I think it's question 3, how do you align with the county's vision statement? We'll have a hyperlink that'll take you directly to our vision statements with on that application so you can see what they are and just how your organization aligns with those.
Great, thank you. And my name
No
is
problem.
Fafa.
Oh, thank you. Any other questions? Was there something that you thought I was going to cover in this information session that I didn't? Anything like that? Well, any feedback you have from this information session or anything you hope that you would like us to cover after thinking about it a little bit, just let us know. We'll get that all, get everything posted on the website probably Monday or Tuesday of next week. And if you have any questions, again, just let me know. Feel free to email or call. I tend to respond within 24 working hours. And I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But I thank you all for being here and all the great questions. And I hope to see some really great applications for the work you're doing in the community. So look forward to it. And we'll have more social media posts as the window opening approaches. So be on the lookout for like LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And we'll be posting there as well as the county website. So we'll make sure that you're updated and know all the steps that are happening. So I'll give you about 10 minutes of your time. I hope you have a great weekend and have a great Friday. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you.
Great presentation. Thank you.
Yes, it was.